almost 8:30, I guess. We are back on my mains plot. Today being Thursday, yesterday being the house tours. We're back to the usual grind. Let me do a tweet real quick. I forgot yesterday, so I wanted to be sure and remember today. I'm just so not in the habit. I don't regularly tweet at all. The only thing I tweet is housing stuff that I occasionally like retweet someone else's pictures or something. But um, I'm not used to just outright tweeting myself, so it's really hard to get into the habit. Um, so there, that is done. Okay. Anyway, I hope you guys had fun viewing the winter houses from yesterday. Like I said, we got 2 more weeks. Excuse me. 2 more weeks of December left, and gonna try and do some more winter houses for those last 2 weeks. Next week, of course, we'll be doing Dominion side, and then the final week of December we'll be back to Exiles. I've had several people make some suggestions of homes, and my apologies, I've gotten a sudden tickle while I was talking. I just haven't gotten around to seeing a few of them. There's at least one that I tried to visit and it gave me that error, the player doesn't exist. So either I got the spelling wrong or it's just giving me that temporary kind of error that sometimes I've had that happen with guildmates that are standing right next to me where it tells me I can't visit their house because they don't exist. So it's not anything reliable that you can be confident that you've gotten the spelling wrong. It's just something a little weird that happens every now and then. So I'll keep trying, and we'll see about getting those houses onto the stream. We are planning to go to my alt's house to do some more holiday decorating, but first, we of course want to do day 17 of the holiday advent house. But I wanted to note that you can see that I've already started picking up some of the new Winterfest decor items, the little advertisement signs, got a little snow clone out here. I will probably be decking these out a little better. The plan is I'm going to have some little Protostar guys with a ladder and they're building on him. Probably have some little piles of snow around so that they can pretend like they're padding him up a little bit more. Let's see, I'm not sure where else I put some things. You can see I added an extra gift here. Got a little gift bag. Whoops, ran right into the glass. Little gift bag here that he's getting ready to fill in with all his little purchases. Excuse me. I've added a few signs in a couple of places, like there. Really haven't collected very much. Mostly I've been getting some of my goodies off of the auction house when I find them at a fairly reasonable price. But here's another one. I don't even have a customer here. I'm still waiting for some of my NPCs. So here's a bag of goodies, but there's nobody there buying it. But I figured it would be good to have some toys in a toy bag since this is the toy store. Anyway, really that's about all I've done. That's all I've added so far. I just haven't collected too much. I'm kind of waiting. I hate to be forced into kind of buying everything straight up because a lot of people will be asking some really outrageous prices. I do have a few things in the crate right now that I could probably put out, but that's not my goal at the moment for today's stream. So we're just going to do the day 17. Yesterday was a wrapped gift, basically just some Chua pillows strategically placed around a hay bale. So today's is gingerbread house. Again, I get the feeling that Nilia's group had a lot of the same ideas that I did as far as some of the decorations. They just took theirs a little differently, and this is my version. It's a pretty kind of complicated looking thing. There's a lot of pieces to it. If I can get a good shot here. And some of them are moving, like the balloon here, but this is my little winterscape of a gingerbread house. So let's talk about some of the pieces that are in it. We have the stardust plants, the stardust tulips. I imagine that they look kind of like gumdrops. So we went with that as part of the roofing decoration. Of course, the roof and the snow on the ground are the towels. Then I used fence posts for the icing. Of course, now that we have icicles, that would be so much easier. I just, would lay out a few rows of icicles and call it good. But at the time, we didn't have icicles on hand, so I had to improvise, and fence posts seemed to work fine for me. Of course, the one window up here is the top of a mushroom. The door frame, I think, is bananas. Yes. This is a round rock steps. I just shrunk it down to make it kind of like the little rocky path. Use some of the new poison spore shrubs for the bushes outside. I figured, again, it looked like little jelly beans or something. And, I was trying to look at things that, had like a little candy kind of appeal. Same way with the house itself. The chocolate is that bottom of the barnacle weed. I noticed that on Venus Rising's Shades Eve plot, they were using it as some of the walkway. And I swore it looked like chocolate bonbon things. So I was determined to use that somewhere in my winter decorations as some kind of a chocolatey thing. And I figured, hey, that'll work for my gingerbread house. The little extra decorations are just the Oran bedside dresser. It's just the ball feet at the bottom, and I just tucked in the rest of it inside the house. The windows are actually backpacks. I'm using the handles of the backpack as the framing of the windows, and I think that's it. The edges. Edges are the portrait of the highborn lady. I wanted something kind of to clean it up because some of the edges of the barnacle weed weren't exactly straight, so I wanted something to kind of frame it in. And but I also needed something, so maybe those are licorice strips or something, I don't know. So yeah, that's my gingerbread house. That is day 17 of the Advent house. There you go. Ta-da! Anyway, I also want to mention that I neglected to announce it yesterday. I had intended to, but me, I kind of got scatterbrained. And I was supposed to announce the winner of my custom built decor gift. What it was I recently hit 100 followers. It's really not a really big indication as far as actual viewers, because obviously there's a lot of followers that will follow the channel, but then they never return, or maybe they choose to watch the videos at a much later time, and they never really interact on the chat and things like that. Well, I do have a few regular viewers that come and chat with me on the stream. They're really helpful. They like to offer suggestions when I'm building on things. If I'm having trouble trying to put something together, they'll throw out some extra ideas. They also just, keep me company. They make it so that I'm not having to talk to myself, which I often do anyway, but it, helps break up the monotony of that. And I just wanted to show a little bit of appreciation. So over the last 3 or 4 weeks, I've been kind of paying a little closer attention as to who's been dropping by regularly in my Twitch channel chat. And I put all of those names in a little box, my little Black Girl box. I put the names on little strips of paper and folded it up, gave it a good shake, and pulled out a name. And Soccer Top was the lucky draw in that one. So I've messaged Soccer Top. So Soccer Top, if you're watching or you see this later, be sure and check your Twitch messages. I did send a little note to you yesterday evening asking for some details, because basically I need to know like what they would like to have. And it can be either, you know, something that's existing, like this piece of furniture that I made here at the store, one of the paintings that I've done, and that can include any of my alts as well, if they like something from there. But like these paintings here, where are they? I think it's on this side, of like the dragon or the sunset and things like that. If they like that and they would like to have that in their own plot, I will either build it for them in person via the roommate tool if they happen to be on Jabbit Excel side, or I will send them the code and they can just use Katya's add-on to put it in themselves, and then they can move it wherever they want. But it was just, you know, my only method of being able to thank, you know, my followers, other than saying constantly thank you. I wanted to do something a little extra special for the holiday. I may end up doing that on a more regular basis. It really depends on if folks have a good response to that, especially if Soccer Top ends up happy with what they get and everything. I may make it a more regular thing, maybe every few months or something like that, rather than just concentrating on the follower count, because really that number doesn't really mean much. Anyway, congrats to Soccer Top. So be sure and contact me. Let me know what you want, and of course confirm what faction region you're on, so I can know how we're going to logistically work out the offering the gift of the custom built item or whatever it is. If it turns out that Soccer Top wants something especially made, you know, maybe they do like the paintings, but they want a specific kind of painting and they want me to attempt that, then maybe we'll stream working on that for them. But in the meantime, we will get back to our decorating. So I'm going to hop over to Turnip's plot. Excuse me. Been doing really good for the last couple of days. Hardly ever coffee, and then I come on here and it's like suddenly can't stop. Maybe I'm allergic to the stream. That would be something bad. Okay, so the last time we were here, we finished up with well, I say finished up, I may think of something else, but for now, we've finished the exterior decorations. We've got a holiday tree with some gifts, the holiday garland, of course, which turned out really lovely. I was happy with how that ended up looking. Very simple to make. Especially if you've got Katya's add-on, it really makes it really fast because you can just make one section of it and then just copy. And then, of course, the holiday wreath idea that we use. So now the task of coming up with interior decorations. You can see that we've got a couple of trees here. These are custom little trees that we were playing around with ideas of, if you don't want to go with the traditional pine tree, what else can you use? These were just some of the things that we come up with on that particular day. So you could just add some extra decorations there if you want. Like for instance, let's see what we got here. Gonna see what, like, say you just want to do, I don't know. I'm gonna look through real quick and see what kind of stuff I have multiples of, and we'll see what we can come up with. Don't want to do lights necessarily because that. Don't want to do green necessarily because that may not show up on the green tree very well. See, don't have a lot of duplicates of much of anything, do I? Well, let's check out the pillows. I'm looking to see which ones are actually fairly cheap. Always go with cheap. I know that sounds awful, but it's just my mantra. Keep it cheap, because you know every now and then you are definitely gonna be tempted to splurge, and you go ahead and splurge, but then you kind of regret it a little bit later. You're thinking, oh man, I paid so much for that. You know, why did I do that? So if you stay cheap most of the time, then those little impulse buys won't hurt so much. Let's stick with the my eyes switching now. I'm just having a bad morning. The pink pillows. Let's go pastel-y with the decorations. So let's make that smaller. Really have to shrink it down because of the size of the tree itself. Okay. Whoops. I don't know why that's like so touchy when it gets on there. Just keeps going, doesn't it? Now, again, the thing that you have to kind of contend with is the shape of the tree or the bushes or whatever you happen to be using. It's going to be tricky. You just kind of have to go with it as far as, you know, how you're going to place your item. There may be times where it looks like your item's kind of almost floating just above whatever it is. I had that trouble with the windows on the big mall tree. So you just kind of have to go with as close as you can get and not worry about it too much if it's kind of looking floaty a little bit, because just the way that the items are built in game, you know, with the polygons and stuff, it's not always, see how it's not exactly, you can get it kind of close, but it's still going to look a little weird. Just get it as close as you can. Excuse me. Okay, so rotate this one a little bit. And you see I'm looking at it from all angles, just kind of trying to get it kind of evenly spread, sort of. Like I have one, that one's kind of on the low side, so I'm going to put this one a little higher. but not as high as that one, so kind of in between, stuff like that. Let's see, we need one probably down here somewhere. That one's like really floaty, isn't it? And probably one up top here would be all right. Sort of close to the top. And probably one here. Let's see, any others? Again, you have to, understand that just because of the way the rendering works, the further away you are, the less you're going to see all these little details like this. So one of those things that, as you're going through my house, a lot of times from a distance, it doesn't look as, decorated as it probably really is. And then as you get closer, more and more details start to pop up. That was one of the things I had trouble with in the beginning when I was working on the Advent house. I wanted to keep those things kind of hidden, as a surprise. And that was a little tough to do because some of the decorations would disappear at a distance, and I had to readjust the sizing so that they didn't disappear and uncover accidentally from distance, and people could kind of take a sneak peek of what was sitting behind there. I was like, no, don't do that. Good morning, Soccer Top. Check your Twitch messages. I know in the past mine wouldn't even alert me that I had messages to check, so be sure and check those because I did send you something yesterday. Hey, Maddie. Been a while. I assume you've been busy with your housing. Either that or you've been sick. There's a lot of people that's been getting sick lately. Okay, so we have kind of a, I don't know, pastel-y pillow tree going on here. So what goes well with pink? I figured the yellow would work good, so we're gonna throw in some cheese. I have lots of little cheese wedges, so we're gonna try that. Now I don't want it necessarily specifically because it's cheese. I'm looking at the colors. I could go with bananas. That's another yellow item, but since I have cheese on hand, I'm going to use it. Again, because I like to build cheap, I also build according to what I have on hand. Kind of like recycling. I make sure I use things that I have already in my crate rather than buying new stuff. So, that's a form of being cheap. Is it a winter plot? I hope it is. Not that you have to build a winter plot, but it just gives me more houses to look at on the stream later. I don't like that. It looks too a big chunk of cheese. I'm mostly just interested in the color. Excuse me. Ah, excellent. You'll have to pass along your alt's name, so I be sure and hit that. I have been having trouble. People will say, "Oh, I've seen lots of winter plots," but they never can tell me the names. And while I do travel the random public housing quite a bit, I swear that little contraption does not regularly update as it should. You know, it doesn't randomize as well as you would think. And I seem to get the same names over and over and over, and it's like I can't find those ones that people are talking about. Let's see, I'm gonna put a little wedgie up top. You could do a star, you could do whatever. Cheese is really good for that just because it's pointed, and you can probably really set that up nicely, but we're going with just a little triangle topper. Pardon me. Like so. Yeah, it's kind of tough. It's hard to, you know, while I previewed some of the new and up and coming decorations on the PTR when it was available, it's really hard to plan ahead of time as far as if you're, you know, wanting to work ahead and get some of the plot finished and then try to incorporate some of that new decor at a later time. That's not very easy to do. So yeah, I sympathize in the trickiness of it because that's kind of what I'm experiencing now. I've got the mall set up certain ways, and then I'm thinking, okay, how am I going to put these signs in? Where are they going to go best? And maybe the space that I have set up that I was thinking that they would work nicely doesn't quite work out right. It's just, and I really don't want to have to rebuild too much, so I'm just kind of taking my time rather than quickly just trying to pile everything in. Okay, we need 1 or 2 cheeses back here. Again, I think the trick to decorating a tree is pick 1 or 2 colors, no more than 3, I would say, and kind of focus on those. That kind of gives some uniformity to it, and it makes it look more purposeful, like you meant it to look, you know, all matchy and it just ends up looking better, in my opinion, rather than, you know, just sticking anything and everything on it. You could, but I've seen trees like that in real life, and they usually look pretty, it ends up looking messy. Ellie Amplifier. Okay, I'll note that down. See, I don't have an empty piece of paper here. Let me write that. Ellie. The name sounds familiar, but like I said, I visit literally hundreds of houses a month, so I tend to get them confused. I mean, it's not an excuse, it's just an explanation when I get kind of forgetful. but I will definitely, that's on Exile side, I assume. The name sounds exile-y. Yeah, that's some of the issue with some of the homes I already have on the list of possibles. I know of at least, I think there's 2 or 3 that I have on the list, and Ellie's might be actually one of them. I'm not sure. Like I said, the name sounds familiar, but I don't know why. It could be just that I've got her on the list of houses to check out in general, and just haven't realized that they've updated to a winter type thing. But I can't, I know I visit some houses that are incomplete, but these are like really incomplete. I mean, they've just got a few things, and you don't want to go then because there's really not much to talk about. If there's enough to talk about or to show off, then I'll go ahead, even if they're not finished. But if it's pretty much just, winter ground and maybe like one little thing, then there's really not a whole lot to really discuss there. So I've been kind of, oh, excuse me, got the hiccups. Really kind of been holding off on that, hoping that they will finish, especially now that Winterfest is up. People may have been waiting on some of the new stuff before they, finalize some of their some of their designs. So fingers crossed that when I roll around to the Exiles side next, we will have more check out there. It's just like I'm hoping, I'm going to be checking it out this weekend, but I'm hoping that Nilia's group's plot is a little bit more finished with all of the new decor by next Wednesday, so that I can include them in a retour, because I promised I would do that once they got the new stuff. Okay, so there's our little pastel-y pink and yellow decorated treelet, mini tree, whatever you want to call it. If you don't want to do a tree, you could probably do, you could try a little snow scene. Just have like a couple of snow piles or something here, or a little snowy hill, and make some little faux houses. I've done that a few times. You can use like domes and boxes and things, and just put like little roofs on them, and pretend that it's a little house, and make like a little winter village kind of thing. Any kind of wide flat surface would work, like the top of this trunk, or you can clear off the top of the dresser and do that here. Let's see, got a couple of bare walls that we might could put something on. I'd also thought about, you could do some garland across the doorway if you want, for an inside thing, having it kind of like dangle down. It'd basically just be a repeat of what's out here for across the top part, and then have just the straight ones coming down this way. With some of the new decor, you could use like maybe if you got a hold of a bunch of the hanging cards, you could have the garland and then have some of the cards tucked in, because I don't know how some people do it, but like when we get Christmas cards from family and friends, I usually find some way of displaying them, anywhere from stringing them on a string, or sometimes I use them as actual tree ornaments. I'll like snip off the one side and just have the front with all the pretty decorations and do it that way. Sometimes I use them as gift tags, older ones. So you'd have like a regular package here, and then have like for a tag, have like a really shrunk down little travel poster or something. I think that's the name tag kind of thing. You don't have to worry about using a string or anything. Just have it on there so that it looks like you can do that. That's another idea. Like if you have an actual travel trunk, you want to pretend like this got a bunch of like different country stamps. Using the little miniature travel posters would kind of be that idea. So you have this like really worldly little gift, you know, either suitcase or trunk or something like that. It's nothing to do with winter. It just popped into my head, so I thought I'd spout it out in case someone else wants to use it as an idea. Yeah, you could use the let's try something a little different. I'm looking for a space to put it. Not sure where. I don't really want to rearrange anything that I already have out. So I'm just kind of either I think I'll just add something. It's see what kind of tables we got. Well, I hate this table, but I'm going to use it today. And I really can't honestly say why I hate this thing. Just something I don't like about it. I don't know why. It's just weird to say I hate a piece of furniture, but really, usually it doesn't suit any of the needs that I have. Clunky when you want to. It just looks awful. But we're going to use it today. So I'm going to try something a little different. You know, you always have your green pine trees for decoration, but you know, maybe someone wants to try to go with kind of something else. So going to attempt something unusual. I think the cluster would work best. Probably the spikes would, but I want to kind of, well, let's just go with the spike, I guess. Yeah. Go with the spike. That is a really huge spike. Now the only issue is you're going to have to worry about that little pointy end, but hopefully, yeah, table's thick enough that that doesn't really show up. Now I shrunk it down and then I'm going to do something different. I want to find the center of this table, so I'm going to copy. Probably should have done this first. Let's try that again. I don't think it worked. There we go. So it's in the center, but I'm having to, whoops. I don't want that moving all over the place. You can eyeball it, usually I do, but just being kind of picky about finding the center. And for something like this, it doesn't work for every object. It really depends on where the controller is. So this is like right in the center of it. So you can kind of reliably, like a pillar is really good. The domes, anything that considers the center is exactly in the center. When you get like an odd shaped item, sometimes the center is a little off. Like for the owl, maybe it's more towards the back instead of directly in the center or something like that. So if you're looking for the center of something, those are good ways to do it. And that's by copying the transformation of the original, the main item, and then put in the other one. You may have to orient it a little differently after that. Sometimes things will come in upside down, or like windows usually come in perpendicular to the way that you want to put them in. But once you find the center part, it's a little easier. So yeah, let's see. We're going to try combining some of the new decorations to make something different. So we're going to grab a bunch of these little snow clumps and just see if we can make something a little a little special. So again, I'm going to find the center of these. Using the little spike. And it's probably pretty small, but that's okay because we want the first one to be a little small. Now you could get fancy and really layer them in, but I'm just going to do it kind of like a stack of donuts. Just kind of, just kind of put them in. I'm going to size it up a little bit. And then bring it down, and then I'm going to twirl it a little just to get a little different shape going on. And then we'll do that again. Now, I may not be enlarging it enough, or maybe too much. That you make the adjustment as you go. Maybe the spacing is wrong. Again, you could use Katya's add-on to kind of make the spacing a little more even if you want. You know, make it precisely, you know, 0.05 distance or whatever. But for this, I think it's better to leave it kind of more random, I guess would be the word. Let's see, just checking, did I size it up? It shows I did, but it didn't look like it did it. Now it could be that as I turn this, maybe it goes off center or something. It feels like it is, but hard to tell. We'll deal with that later. And you'll see I'm started off with like an odd number, and I just kind of picked up using every 5 to change it. And you just keep going until you get, you know, if you want it smaller and you don't have this table and you have a solid base that you're putting on, you can push it down and be, you know, call it done. We're just going to go ahead and do the whole thing though. You could do this with domes if you're not really looking for something specifically white, and make it like that. I've seen a few do that. You know, having kind of like, you know, when you're doing a centerpiece in real life, you use like cone shapes and things to kind of represent trees. It's kind of the same idea here. If you want to get kind of goofy protostarish hazard kind of thing, the hazard cones would work nicely. They kind of light up as well. I don't think they count as lighting, but confirm that before you go haywire. You don't want to use up all your lighting on that. Hey Nordna. Thank you for joining. Okay, a couple more, I think. Like I said, maybe you decide that the difference in the width as you go up is too small, too big. You could change it up if you want, if you discover that it's not working quite right. But I think it did okay. Okay, so I'm going to take this and then I'm just going to start rotating these off a little bit. See how it changes it up, the look of it? That's kind of why you want to rotate it. It doesn't look as uniform. And so it makes a nice, pretty, kind of like a white tree. Yeah, that turned out okay. I'm gonna go ahead and add a couple more up top. Just to cover up that little spike. Now, you'll notice that I used the spike and then I actually just kind of covered it up. So you're thinking, why did you use the spike? But you could maybe remove some of the layers to leave the spike visible. I'll show that here in a minute. That was my original idea and I just kind of laid it in completely, but you'll see what I'm talking about here shortly. I can see what in the world I'm doing here. Yeah. Okay, so what you could do is take maybe every other one out if you want, or just one or two. I think I prefer it solid, so we'll do something else with the little spiky. But you could use, if you know you're going to make it solid like this, which I didn't know that I was going to do that until I got started, but if you know you're going to go with something solid, then you could just use a pillar rather than buying the icicle. Just use the pillar for that. So there's our little white tree. Now for white, you really want to go with some really kind of you could go with any color really. Even grays and browns would show up against the white. That's the beauty of using the white. It's almost the same with using like a black. A lot of things will pop out against that. Maybe not the grays and stuff so much, but you could go it. Since we're using a lot of flowers and things, kind of pastel-y colors, I'm going to go with something a little bit more bright maybe. Let's see what we got here. See, what do those bottles look like? This one's kind of a darker gray, and that one's a little lighter. This one's more bulby shaped. That one's brown. That one's goldish, but I don't think we'd have too much luck there. Let's try the bottles. They're cheap and easy. So was that medium? Yeah, I could have left the spike there to get the center again, but we'll call it okay. I'm seeing it how much I have to shrink this down to get it hidden because I don't want anything else showing other than the little top. That's just my preference. It doesn't mean it has to be that way. And then I'm just going to start planting some of those around And I'm going to do them not only in different positions, but I'm going to try them at different sizes as well and see how that looks. Oh, they just kind of get all sorts of wonky. Now again, when you start sinking these in, be mindful of what might be sticking out on the other side. Make sure that bottle's not visible there. Tedious, but the end result usually is worth it. Sometimes I'll work on something like this and I'll spend, an hour or two working on it, and then I end up scrapping it completely because it ends up not as interesting as I thought it might be. So I'm just kind of picking some different random sizes to see how it looks, and then as I decide, okay, those will work, then I'll fill it up with multiples of those sizes. And that one's a little too big, I think. You can certainly use just some of the the windows. The windows work nicely on that. They're bright, colorful. And it doesn't have to be round things. For me, I tend to think Christmas balls being round, but ornaments in general, but it doesn't have to be. You want to use little spaceships, that is fine. Do this way, I think. Again, I'm looking at positioning in relation to the others. I don't want them too much the same. But you also don't want to overdo it. Put too many in, and then it starts looking a little crowded and messy again. Another one of those, sometimes less is more. Now this one will probably get away with not having to decorate the entire back as precisely as some of the ones that you would see from all directions. You still want to catch some of it. People are going to look. I'm notorious for doing that myself, so that's why I make sure I decorate as much of it as I can, because I know I'll come and snoop, and when I'm visiting somebody's house, I'll look at it from all angles and check out, did they finish the back of something, that kind of stuff. So if I'm looking at other people's homes for that kind of thing, I just assume others will be doing that to mine, and hopefully they don't find too much unfinished messiness. Excuse me. I'm gonna see if I can sneak a bigger one up top. I'm gonna try anyway. Might be too big. Yeah, it's a little on the big side. And I can't necessarily turn it too much to the side because then it loses its round shape. So let's try some. No, still a little on the big side. Getting closer. Okay. Missing like one here somewhere. No, he's sticking out. There we go. Okay, so where do we need another one? Maybe one here? And one here. So turn this one around. Never know what arrow to use. Up a little bit. Yeah, I guess that's all right. And then where did I say? One here, I think is what I said. Just bring this one down. They don't all have to be big just because they're on the bottom. There we go. There's kind of a wintry white holiday tree. So you don't have to just use green stuff. You can use anything. That was what I was trying to mention the other day. Now, if you want to make a tree out of pillows only, you could do that. In fact, the green pillows would probably work fine. Like, just do them like, since I have several of those laying around anyway. Just start out with your base. Pick where you're going to want it, standing, sitting, whatever. And then again, just kind of, oops, decide how you want it the distance between the branches, or however you want to call them. And then again, size it down in increments, however you feel. 5 tends to be a good bit for me. Again, I could be using like the Katya's to get the spacing exact. If you're looking for that kind of bit, then that's one way to go. For me, since I'm just doing kind of quick and dirty building, I'm not really getting too precise about it, but that might help make it look even that much more pro or something. I don't know. And just keep going until you feel like you've reached the top. Now you can see it looks fine if you keep it the same angle on all of them. I will probably rotate them a bit, like so, and I'll probably do that with every other one. I just like that alternating it a little bit, and I'm just doing them at right angles again to each other, so you could do it differently if you want. If you want to keep it straight, if you want to maybe kind of rotate it a little bit so it looks almost like a spiral made kind of tree. It's just up to you what you prefer, what you think looks visually more appealing. I think we'll do maybe 1, 2 more and then call it good. Getting on the small side, so it's getting a little harder to see. There you go. Another little holiday tree. If you want to go all pillows, just decorate. You could use the pink pillows like we did on this one. Just pop it on there. The purple ones, little round purple ones, those would be good. It's really just anything's possible. But you can see I wanted to do a white one because I don't know, I have this weird obsession with white stuff for my own holiday decorations in my real home. So I have a lot of, all of our dishes are white, and I have a lot of white trees and things. And I thought, I wonder if I can make one of those. And so there you go. There's a little white one. You could do the topper different if you want. There's just all kinds of ways you could approach it depending on what you need. Obviously, a custom tree like this is going to suck up a lot of your decor count, but if that's, say you use mostly prefabbed stuff, then you can splurge by making a custom little tree. It's just a once a year kind of thing, and why not get a little fancy for it? But that's just some ideas there. Candle arrangements. A lot of holiday decorations involve candles. We use like pumpkins as the candle holders for the fall, but for the winter holiday, typically yeah, I think it just depends on how detailed your house is and on whether or not the decor count becomes an issue, if that's what you're referring to. For me, the outside tends to be the roughest because you're also got the landscaping you're dealing with, whereas the interior, just doing interior. But speaking to someone that likes to customize as much as possible, obviously, even the interior can really bite you in the butt when it comes to decor count. It just depends on what you're doing. So, I mean, if you've got like a lot of stairs and things that you've customized in the interior of your home, I've seen some that's, well, I've done like chandeliers that I've made from scratch, and I get really elaborate with like table settings and stuff like that. Um, like I said, the little details can really eat you up. Yes, it is a little bit more of a pinch on the exterior because you've also got the landscaping to deal with, but really depends on, because like some that build like space stations, they just wall it all in, so they're not having to really worry too much about the trees, and they can get away with huge walls to kind of block it all in. And just because you have this gigantimous housing plot, if you build it as an enclosed space, you can make it however small you want. I could, in theory, uh, have this moved right up to the entrance and box it in a little smaller with the canyon area and just ignore the majority of the plot size, if that's what you want. A lot of people seem to have this impression that if they have this huge plot, they have to utilize every inch of it, and that really isn't the case. There's ways you can kind of size it to your needs, your specification. If you want to have it like your house is in the middle of a jungle, box it in really good with all the trees and things so that people can't get through it. You have to be creative about jumping on things and making sure there's no cracks and crevices that they can squeeze through. One good thing to do that, to ensure that you've covered everything, is to box it in glass and then put your trees along the glass wall, so that you really don't see the glass, but it makes sure that nobody can go through it. And that will ensure that your little grove or whatever you've got is kept intact and in the size that you want it. And then you don't have to worry about the rest of the plot. Because yeah, I think in the beginning when we got these bigger plots, a lot of people kind of freaked out thinking, oh my gosh, the really the tricky part was accommodating the the movement of the the teleporter pad. That was the worst part of it, I think, because there are some that built specifically around that, and then when it moved, then you couldn't get in because they'd actually already boxed in that little part. But rework that, and you just make a little extended tunnel or something, and then you're good. Yeah, that's true. But with the larger space, a lot of people feel like they've got to build huge, and you really want to watch on the scale and stuff. So, unless they really kind of surprise us with some updated decor, space, storage upgrades, some additional ones than what we've already gotten, I would say, the space is nice, but if you don't really require it and you want to keep it a little bit more compact, so you're not trying to build out, 'cause some people, they'll like build those custom houses and they'll like build this mansion, and there's this huge amount of space. Then when they start putting in the walls and the floors and everything, they realize just how much trouble it's going to be to fill in every room, and then they start struggling. Okay, what's the use of this room? Is it just storage? Is it a bathroom? Is it a kitchen? Is it a game room? Is it a library? And then when you start adding in the details, they become really sparse because you can only put so much. With the decor count, you can't get as detailed as you'd like if you have a huge expansive place to kind of fill in. So I always like to keep my projects a little bit more compact. I think the mall is about the biggest I've gone, and I'm already seeing that my space is limited, so I'm having to be very careful about the things I put in, and it hurts even more because a lot of mine is custom, especially the items that are on sale for the shops. I specifically want them custom, so that detracts from the detail that I can put elsewhere to make the store look like a store. So, okay, so I keep going back to the trees, but I feel like a lot of people, might benefit from knowing that you don't have to use the actual greenery. You can get away from that by using other things, pillows, snow stuff, snow piles, other things to kind of do something different. I'm really happy with how that turned out, in fact. You can enlarge that, in fact, if you have a snow plot. You can just make your own little custom snow trees. You don't have to rely on waiting for them to add more snow trees. Just make your own. Excuse me. Let's see. But we were talking candles, right? What I like to use for candles is glasses. I know that sounds weird, but you kind of do that in real life too at times. You'll take a glass and use it as like a holder or sconce or something like that. You can do that with bowls. I kind of had an example here. I just used a couple of windows. I had some spare windows and said, I hate these windows, they're ugly. The shape is usually kind of weird. So I just made a little candle holder with it. That's an example of that. I've seen some use just the regular bowls and tuck them in so that it's like half in and use it as a sconce that way. And one way to do it is to take glasses and use them in that fashion. You can use the wine glass one and tuck the candle inside so it looks like maybe this is like melted wax or something. You can use the regular ones and turn them upside down and use the tops as the holder part of itself. The one that's really my favorite is the fancy one. This one here. It does cost renown, so it's not for everybody, but I like it. And it doesn't really show up too nicely on that, so I'm gonna, where can we put that? Let's put that over here, I guess. Looking to see if there's another space. I don't really want to put it in the bathroom. Let's put it on the table. We'll make a little candle centerpiece for the table. So you kind of center it up, and then what I do, you could leave it just like this, but me being the way I am, I like I tend to avoid using something just as it is, so for a glass, the easiest thing is just to flip it over. I do this with the silver chalice as well. Now, I have to admit the silver chalice was mostly because I thought for all this time that it was actually coming in upside down, and they just kept forgetting to change it, but apparently actually that's the way it's supposed to be. To me it looks like a pitcher rather than a chalice. And I'm just going to add, I know this is kind of a little elaborate for this little teensy tiny table, but you could add a couple of extras and make them different sizes if you want. Since it's a tiny little arrangement, I'm just going to leave it the one. And my favorite candle is the tall ones. The small one is usually so fat, and you really have to shrink it down really tiny to get it to. And the medium is okay, but again, it's still kind of fat. I like the tall one of the three. That's my favorite. So we'll go with the tall one. It's even shrunk down. It still looks nice. Again, it's a pretty big centerpiece for this little dinky table, but just to get an idea of some of the possibilities. Okay, so then, you know, you want some kind of greenery around it. So let's see. Probably go with the same stuff we've been using for the for the wreath and everything. Mostly because it's a little bit more compact. It's not as spread. If, like, say for instance, if we use the fern, I think it's going to be so spread and I don't know if that will work really well. May have to use several of them just to make it look, which may end up being all right, but wow, that's like a huge centerpiece for this thing. Again, the glass, while it is kind of expensive, it really is a pretty item. I like it. Something sort of like that. Don't like that. See how this doesn't look full. So let me grab. What is that thing called? Maybe it's not even in the. Maybe it's just in the plants. Oh, what is that thing called? Leafy bramble. There we go. I'm gonna put one in there, hopefully to kind of fill that up so that it doesn't look so empty. That helps a little. No, that doesn't. Still kind of visible. I don't like the white line there, but is that even straight? No. Something like that. But you can have several of those, and then maybe make the holders a little different sizes, like heights. You know, maybe not this. You know, just kind of sink it down a little bit. Since we're kind of covering up the bottom of the glass anyway, you could just kind of change the elevation a little bit. Keep the candles the same, and then but they'll be kind of standing at different heights, and that would work really nicely for like a long banquet table or something, or across the top of a fireplace mantle. That would work really nice. Yeah, I don't want to get too much more. I mean, there's other things you could add. We've showed, like in the fall one, we added extra fruits. And things like that. So you could get just as elaborate or fancy as you want for that kind of thing. Again, with the garlands, you could do like for here, and for instance, I could have some garland here, one draping across the kitchen, and then have it repeated on this side of a loop here and then having them come down, and just repeat that all around. And it'd bring a lot of nice vibrant color and decoration. The main thing is whatever you use, especially if you're in a custom house and you have just these thin walls, be careful about what you choose. We discussed that when we made these out here. You want to make sure you use something that you're not going to have constantly sticking out. Just be mindful of it. I mean, like even here, we've got a little bit that's peeking, and you just have to. Someone's happy they got a new computer. Just be mindful of that. Check it regularly to make sure that it's not too much of a problem. There we go. Most of it. I mean, there's the little things here and there, but get the majority out. You should be fine. Okay, so I know it's kind of a short stream today, but I got a lot of things to do, and I've got a long day ahead of me. I've got a Christmas party to attend this evening. It's with the ladies group of my mother-in-law, and so it's going to be a long and loud evening. I may end up streaming later tomorrow because of it. I may like sleep in and try to recoup. Most of them are old enough to be my grandma, but I swear they're pumped up on sugar or something when they come to those events, because they just pretty crazy dancing and hooping and hollering and all kinds of goofiness. But it's like a little dinner kind of thing mostly, and they just kind of recap the things that they've done over the year, and she usually invites me every year, so I go kind of as one of my presents to her. I always attend. But yeah, I hope you guys had fun. You know, it's just little ideas, things that you can do to kind of bring a little holiday cheer to your home. It doesn't have to be just like everybody else's. I know with the Winterfest decor that's hit recently, we're going to see a lot of that in a lot of people's home. I have it in mind, but always strive to find other ways to use it as well, because that's sometimes the problem with specifically themed decor. People feel like that's, you know, if they're going to use an Elden thing, well, then they have to have an Elden theme. Try and find other things, other ways to use your decor, so that, you know, you can get use out of it. You know, it's not like a one-time thing, like I can only pull out this WildStar Winterfest poster only at this time. Find another way to use it in something else, even if it's just a piece of it. At least, you know, it doesn't, it feels like an investment rather than just kind of a frivolous purchase or, you know, effort that you've gotten it. Anyway, tomorrow, depending on what I'm able to get done today, because I do plan to do a little bit of decorating on my mains plot today to kind of help finish up preparing especially the skating rink for Saturday's guild event that I'm going to be hosting there. We may be streaming some of that tomorrow, if nothing else, just to show the new additions to it, the things I've added, and maybe the problems I had. But yeah, if we don't do that, then we'll come back here and talk about some additional decorations or something. I really haven't had a chance to do the Winterfest, other than the dailies. I haven't really done, like, I'm not farming the instance for a lot of the goodies. I'd like to, but I just haven't had the chance. So that may come after the fact. But again, congrats to Soccer Top, who won the custom built gift from me. In fact, I'll be checking my messages to see if soccer has replied as to what they would like and where it needs to go and that kind of thing. Like I said, I'll probably do that again. I don't know when, and I may not even announce it this time. I may just say, hey, today such and such is going to get a gift, and just kind of surprise folks. I don't know how I'm going to do it. It's just, I think that's the best kind of way for me to thank those that regularly visit and chat with me and support my little endeavor in trying to promote WildStar housing. So if folks are interested and really like that, then I will probably continue to do it as a regular thing. You're welcome. You're welcome, Sucker. Hopefully you like whatever it is, because I have no idea what you might actually be asking for. But anyway, like I said, I don't know if I'm going to do it. Right now, I wanted to kind of do it as a celebration of 100 followers, and it is the holiday season, so I thought it would be a little thing to do. But I may do it something like maybe every few months. I just say, hey, I'm going to build something for somebody and draw a name, and that's a good thing. See you later, Maddie. And anyone else is leaving, I appreciate you dropping by. Reminder, we do have the housing competitions going on. The 19th of this month, the sign-ups for Venus Rising's housing competition opens. Then you have until the 27th to get your submission in. And then, of course, from the 27th to the 10th of January, the judging process will be going, but they will be announcing the winner on January 10th. I do believe the idea is that we're going to have more than just the two winners per region. They have the main winner, then there's going to be a runner-up, and then I believe the plan is to add in a couple of honorable mentions. And the honorable mentions will be winning plaque prizes. So we'll see how that goes. It's not going to be faction specific. It's not going to be like they're going to find one exile house to make an honorable mention and one Dominion house. It could be two exiles. It could be two Dominion. It really depends on the entries themselves. We're judging them by, they're each individually. It's not faction specific or anything. So if you have a house on Jabbit EU, whether it's exiles or Dominion, and you feel like you have a chance, and even if you don't, but if it fits the criteria, and of course be sure and read all of that, because there is some specifics that are required. Be sure to enter. The more the merrier. Going to be some work for us, but hey, I'm willing to tough it out. And I may even stream some of the stuff as I go through. I won't be really verbalizing my opinions as much as I do now, because I don't want to offend anybody, and I, of course, don't want to kind of appear like I'm playing favorites or anything. Anyone that's watched me knows that I have my personal opinions about things, and just like any judge, it's going to be kind of, up to our personal taste as to what we find appealing and not, but I will try and be as fair as possible when it comes to the judging process. Like I said, Nellie's already given us a little judges sheet where we have specific little things that we're supposed to be looking for, like originality and neatness and the creativity and things like that. So, and I'm really big on custom, so I think it's safe to say, if you have a lot of that on a plot, you have a good chance of impressing me, because that's one of my favorite things of a house. But clever ideas too can also woo me. But anyway, there's also Black Dagger Societies. If you happen to be entity side, then they are having a contest of their own. I believe some of the prizes for that is like the new snow globe mount that just hit the shops recently. So if you're interested in trying for that, if you're on Inti's side, then you got both contests that you can apply for. Um, Again, I haven't heard a peep out of Carbine as to whether or not they're going to be hosting any kind of a competition or anything. Maybe with the next live stream they will mention something. I think they're planning on having one today. I'm not sure. So keep an eye out on their Twitter feed for announcements in that regard. But yeah, definitely those two competitions. I know there's a third one, but I don't know how. I haven't seen really anybody talking about that too much. And it's in French, so I really couldn't confirm whether or not it's what it is, what it entails. So if you're on the French forum, maybe check that out and see what that's all about. I think that one specifically requires an entry fee, which kind of sends up flags for some people. So that's why I'm not really promoting it too much. I'm just mentioning it because it is there, and if it's legit and everything, then it should be a pretty fun deal. But yeah, so Winterfest is up. If you haven't visited it yet, be sure and check that out. It's in the same location as the Shades Eve event was, Shindig Hollow for Thade City, and I don't, off the top of my head, know where it is in Ilium, but wherever the Shades Eve was there, look in the same place, and that's where you'll find the Winterfest one. It's pretty fun. I love the music. Of course, I'm a big Protostar fan, so this is like the ultimate holiday, the way they've done it with all Protostar and everything. So I'm having fun collecting a lot of the new stuff, and I hope you do too. Even if you don't visit the stream and stuff, and even if you don't plan on entering your house into any of the competitions coming up, um, be sure and tweet out images of some of the things you've made or some of the things you like. There's already been a lot of people showing that, the bows that they get for their hair and things. But if you're doing housing stuff, use the hashtag WildStar thing, because I usually watch that feed the most for any housing tidbits. So use that, and I'll catch it, and I'll try and retweet it for you. And yeah, in the meantime, good luck with your projects, whatever they may be, winter or not. And I hope you have a good day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye. Thanks for dropping by.